and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now today I'm going to be talking about my birth story. I'm assuming if you click this video it's something you want to know about. If you don't like hearing about birth, if like all that stuff is a trigger for you, then maybe stop watching now. So this is going to be a video all about how I gave birth to Billy and how it all happened really. I used to love watching these videos when I was pregnant. I used to watch them all the time. So to me they were just real. It wasn't like a TV program that was kind of really cleverly edited and stuff. It was just, this is how it was, this is how it felt, this is what really happened. It gave me a really good idea of actually what to expect. Let me start from the beginning. Billy is my first baby, 2 in June. He was born on the 9th of June 2014 and his due date was the 30th of May 2014. So he was exactly 10 days late. In Ireland, the way it works usually on the whole conveyor belt system is that they will generally let you go over about a week, max 10 days, want to induce you, and that's just kind of how it works here. I think it's quite different in the UK in the sense that like when you watch programs like One Born Every Minute and stuff, I'm always so surprised by the fact that there's more than one person in the room when you give birth. So I thought that when I was going to give birth, my mother and Peter could both be in the room, but they couldn't be. It could only be one of them. I sort of thought I knew it all about birth, and not in like a kind of a cocky way or anything like that, more of a positive thinking. Just wanted to have a natural birth and I wanted to try and not have the epidural if at all possible, and I didn't want to have pethidine or I didn't want to be induced. They were all my preferences. When it comes down to it and you are in a lot of pain and you're making these decisions and certain pain relief or aids are being offered to you, you might not be in the best frame of mind to actually make a decision like that. So it's kind of good to have a good clear idea what you want and to tell your birth partner, let them know what your preferences are so that they can kind of help be your voice during the labour. And naturally if you change your mind, your voice will be louder than theirs, so don't worry about that. So I was reading the Ina May Gaskin book. I think it's like the Guide to Childbirth. If you're pregnant and you want to kind of read a couple of inspiring, uplifting, natural birth stories, I would read that book. It's really, really good. I used to read it before I went to bed and like it doesn't hold back. It gives all the gory details. So I kind of made the decision that I wanted to have a natural birth, or I wanted to try and have a natural birth anyway. So I gave birth in the Coombe hospital in Crumlin, Dublin. And only, I think a year before I gave birth, they introduced this new swimming pool. Well, not a swimming pool, but like a jacuzzi bath in one of the wards, and it was a big massive deal and they spoke about it in our antenatal classes and everything, and I just thought that's something I want to do. Now at the time they were saying labour in the pool, but they want you to give birth outside of the pool. So I don't know, I think that was like a health and safety thing or something like that. So but naturally, my midwife said to me, like, if you're in the pool and you're about to give birth, like they're not going to like drag you out of the pool either. It's still a major step in the right direction to kind of introduce more holistic approaches to pain relief, and I wanted to try it out. I was told though, if you want to use the birthing pool, mention it from the very beginning when you get to hospital when you're in labour, because there's only one pool and there might be 30 women in labour. So I kind of didn't have massive high hopes. I thought, oh, if it happens it happens, if it doesn't it doesn't. Funny, because I think this is a common thing for women who are having their first baby. I sort of was like, I'm definitely going to go early, definitely, like, I won't make it to the 30th of May, I'm definitely going to have a May baby. And I think there is a word for that, and it's called hope or wishful thinking. So May 30th came and went, nothing happened. Then I had an appointment during the week with my doctor, and I had a pretty good idea that he was going to do what is called a sweep. This is where it gets a bit gory. Not gory, but this is the stuff I love like hearing about, so maybe you do too. A sweep is basically where a doctor puts his fingers into the cervix area, loosen the membranes around that area. So the cervix is what separates your body and say the outside world to your baby who's in your womb. And sweep is something that usually I think from your 39th week on, or the week you're due to give birth, your hospital may offer you, or you may ask for. I actually asked for it because I was really scared of being induced. To get some help to go naturally, I was going to take it. So got the sweep, and it's interesting because of all days in the year, like of all days, I could have chosen to wear a certain pair of underwear. I chose this day, and let's just say they weren't really hospital appropriate. they weren't the kind of underwear that a woman who's 40 weeks pregnant should be wearing, and I don't know why I was wearing them. So it made the whole experience kind of funny, because I was just like, oh my god, mom, seriously. My mom came with me. I was like, seriously, I didn't even mean to wear them. I know the doctor's gonna think, but obviously, like, nobody noticed, nobody cares, and like, it's all very professional, and you know, a female comes in with you and the whole thing. But it kind of made the whole thing a little bit lighthearted, so that was good. I'm expecting this week to be painful. Now, I don't mean to like scare anybody, because it wasn't like, you know, unbearably painful, but I just didn't expect it to feel the way it felt. Feeling of pressure, and just at one or two points I just was like, oh my god, no, I can't do this. I think it was a good way of kind of preparing me for the types of feelings you get when you're in labour. Kind of a little bit upset after it, because I don't know, it was kind of emotional, and I'm going to go into labour today, or maybe this is the start of it, and you know, it just felt very real all of a sudden. A kind of medical environment, and feeling some sort of discomfort. I was like, well, this is the beginning. Nothing happened that night, nothing happened the next night. A couple of days passed, and the doctor did say to me now that he thought it was very favourable to go into labour naturally, in the sense that he had looked at my cervix, and it was starting to like thin out, I think is what they call it, and he felt that he'd be very surprised if I wasn't back in the hospital by the Monday, naturally, in labour, but that if I wasn't, he was giving me an induction day for Monday the 9th of June. Longest weekend of my life. I packed and repacked my hospital bag so many times. So Sunday night came, and I completely resigned myself to the fact that I was going to be getting induced the next morning, and at that point I was just so looking forward to meeting the baby that I just thought, this is just the way it's happening. I just need to just hand it over, and just accept that this is my path in terms of how I'm going to give birth, and just trust. Funnily enough, by pure coincidence, there was a program on RTE about wild animals giving birth, like in the wild, and my boyfriend Peter thought it would be so funny for us to watch it. He was like, oh, this is so funny, look, they're giving birth, look. And it actually was kind of funny, because it relaxed me a little bit, because it was just gas. And Peter was like, look, if that elephant could do it in the field, so could you. And you know, it was just funny, and it kind of relaxed me a bit. And it was weird, because Peter stays up later than I do usually, so I was going to bed and I was like saying goodnight, giving him a kiss goodnight, whatever, and it felt really weird. I felt really emotional. I was getting kind of sobby, because I was like, night, see you in the morning when we're having a baby. I just accepted the fact that I was going to be induced the next morning, and I was actually beginning to get quite excited about it. Went to sleep, woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh, that's weird. I think I may have kind of slightly lost control of my bladder, which had never happened to me before, but had happened to a lot of my friends who were in my stage of pregnancy, and is very normal, and with the baby pushing like so low on your genital area. So Peter was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I think I might have just like wet myself a little bit. And then he was like, oh, imagine it was your water going. And I was like, yeah, like some chance of that happening like 4 hours before I'm due to get induced. So then I stood up to go to the bathroom to leave the bedroom, and it became quite obvious that my waters had in fact gone. It wasn't like the kind of sort of movie style like gush of waters where you're like, oh my god, I'm in labour, and she has the baby like, you know, 20 minutes later. It wasn't like that at all. It was just like, oh, okay, that's really weird. I have no control over what's happening, and I don't know what to do. It went on for a while, and I was like, I rang the hospital, and they were like, okay, see how you're feeling, you know, if it turns into kind of contractions, start to time them and come into us. And like, I think they said if it went over 12 hours, they had to come in anyway, because you're high risk then for an infection when your waters go, because that's what separates the baby from the outside world. Changed the bed sheets, naturally, and I told Peter to go back to bed. I definitely couldn't go back to bed. Couldn't lie down, couldn't think straight, needed to go downstairs, make a cup of tea. I think in my gut, in my heart of hearts, I knew that it was happening. Someone had said to me, eat something as soon as you feel up to eating something when you are in labour, because there comes a point where you just don't eat for hours and you need the energy. So I just had that in the back of my head. So I went downstairs, I made a cup of tea and 2 slices of toast, and I sat on my birthing ball and I just put on the telly. I think I was watching like The Hills or something. Kind of started to feel a weird feeling, and I was like, you know, TMI, but it felt like I needed to go to the toilet basically, but I just couldn't. It's my mum, and I was like, I think my waters have gone. I think this is what's happening. The hospital think this is what's happening. But I don't really I don't have any pain. I just feel like I need to go to the toilet. And she was like, that's the start of it. This is the beginning. It was one of those things where I think in my gut feeling I knew it was happening, but I was so afraid that I just was like, no, this is not happening. About 7 o'clock in the morning, it started to get quite painful, and I asked my mum could she come down. At this point Peter was awake and everything, so she came down, and I was after having what I had pretty much accepted was a contraction, and it was pretty bad. Like, it stopped me in my tracks, and I was like, oh my god, is that what this feeling is? Like, this is what it's going to be like. This is only the beginning. Oh god, I can't do this. And in between all that, I was still doubting myself, thinking I just need to go to the toilet. This is not it. So my mom came down, and of course nothing happened for about a half an hour, just nothing. But then they came back. It was intense. It happened very quickly. I just remember being hunched over my sofa in the sitting room, and my sister came down. My sister and my mum were like rubbing my lower back, or Peter was like talking to me. And every so often I would run into the toilet and be like, I need to go to the toilet, and I would lock the door. My mum was like, Tracy, don't lock the door, darling, are you alright? And I was just like, I can't talk. And then the contraction would end, and I would be like, that's what's mad about contractions. You're in so much pain, you cannot think straight. You feel like you can't cope. And then it literally drops off the end of a cliff and it's gone. There's no like kind of crampiness after a contraction. It's just intense pain followed by complete calm. So it's kind of a good thing because it gives you a chance to sort of catch your breath. My mum got Peter to ring the hospital, and they were like, yeah, bring her in. So got into the car, packed it up. It was just so surreal going in. I can't explain. That car journey was so surreal. Peter had rented a car because his car was getting serviced or something. So we were in this really fancy car, and I couldn't put the seatbelt on because I was just like an animal roaring in pain on all fours in the back of the car, hunched over, grabbing onto my sister. I actually opened the door of the car on the Crumlin Road before we got to the Coombe. I didn't actually get to open it because Peter had it child locked. But I actually was like, I need to get out of the car, And like, I was just panicking everybody, so it was horrible. Anyway, then we got to the Coombe, we were in the car park, got a car space, and I just remember saying to my mum, I really don't like this. And she's like, I know, love, I know, it's fine, it's all normal, you're gonna be fine. I was like, Mom! She was like, yeah. I was like a baby again. I was like, what happens if we're walking into the hospital and people are just there for their normal appointments, and I'm gonna have a contraction and I'm not gonna be able to disguise it? She was like, it's fine. And at the same time in my head I was thinking, I had never seen a woman in labour when I was in the appointment room, so I was thinking they probably have a way of sort of separating those things, but they don't. You both walk in the same doors and you walk in the same hall and everything. Anyway, lo and behold, got to the door of the hospital and was having a massive contraction, and I just had to like get down onto my hunkers and just breathe through it, and there was people walking past me, and it was just so funny because afterwards I was just like laughing and just like, oh my god, I can't believe that happened. Then we got into the hospital, and the woman at the registration desk was like asking for my name, my PPS number and all, and I was just like, no, I won't be answering those questions. Peter answered all those questions, and they brought me upstairs to the assessment unit, which is like I think on the second floor in the Coombe. They make you do a urine test, they put you onto a trace monitor, and they just kind of make sure everything's okay. So at that point the midwife was checking me out, and I was literally going mad with the pain. I just felt I couldn't take it anymore. There was a woman sitting beside me, and she was in labour as well, and she just seemed so like controlled, and like, just like she was managing much better than me. With the internal, it was just very uncomfortable. I just kept trying to get off that bed, and the trace kept falling off me. It's like little two sticky things on your stomach that just check the baby's heartbeat and your own heartbeat. Just couldn't lie down. That's the one thing I would take from that experience, is that when you're birthing, lying down is probably the most ineffective position of all, because it just doesn't help the pressure or the pain, and it just doesn't feel right. Then she checked me and was like, yeah, you're about 1 centimetre. Sorry, 1 centimetre. Yeah, you're not like technically in established labour just yet. That went on for a while. I lay there. My mum came up to see how I was a few times. Her and Peter swapped places. The next part is a big blur. Happened very quickly. I was brought up to the labour suite, the birthing suite. There was a lovely big room. It was only a new refurbished room, and they offered me pethidine, which I didn't want. I knew this couldn't be the bottom end of the pain. I just knew it wasn't. So suddenly, like a half an hour later, I was 4 centimetres, and they offered me the epidural, and I took it with open arms. Even though I said I wanted a natural birth, you just don't know how you're going to feel until you're in the position. I sat up on the side of the bed, and the anaesthetist came in, and I think he gave me a little injection first into my lower back, and it was like, he said it was a bee sting kind of feeling, just to numb the area, and then he kind of fed in the epidural. And it's funny, I'm really squirmish and like I hate needles and stuff, but in that moment I didn't really care because I just saw it as the means to feeling better. He kept giving out to me for like moving and stuff because I just kept like having contractions and I couldn't sit still. When it had started to kick in, it was pretty good timing, because I at this point felt like it was getting to the point where I definitely couldn't handle any more pain. I just genuinely felt like that. I was like, I just can't do this anymore, and like knock me out. And that's when they started to mention sort of a few things about the baby's heartbeat, and they could tell by the tone of their voices that they were panicking, and they kept telling me to like sit still, so they checked something, and then they did an internal and checked the baby's heart rate that way, and I think they might have done a blood test on the baby's head even. It's amazing what they can do. But there was a sense of panic, and I will never forget that feeling. It was not something I expected, and it took the place of the pain. I didn't feel the pain anymore when I sensed their level of panic, and all I cared about was my baby. Is my baby okay? I was just in such a flurry over the whole thing. At this point they'd given me gas and air, which I was finding really, really good. Now I know some people don't like gas and air, it makes them feel kind of queasy. Excuse me. I loved it. It really relaxed me. Someone described it to me as sort of, it doesn't take away the pain, but it helps you sort of float above the pain. That is a really good way of describing it, I think. It just sort of separates you from the pain a little bit, kind of makes you feel like you're a bit drunk. Tracy, you're only using that now when you're getting a contraction, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, totally. She said, okay, now just make sure you don't overdo it, you might feel sick. But I just was like, it kind of made me sort of giddy, and I kept asking the midwife real inappropriate questions, like asking her where she was from and like what her age was. And I think I may have looked her up on Facebook actually. Wouldn't really surprise me. It was like as if within 5 minutes I was checked, and she said it was 9.5 centimeters, and I just remember thinking, oh my god, that's what Peter said. He was like reading a newspaper beside me. He's like, it's showtime, this is it, this is happening. The midwife was like, relax, it could take a while, you know, she could be 2 hours pushing, but just relax. And then a couple of minutes later they would panic again about the baby's heart rate. Like, I'm sure it was an hour, but it felt like 5 minutes of like panic followed by a bit of calm, and then panic followed by a bit more calm, and meanwhile I'm just ignoring the whole thing, just sucking on the gas and air, and that was helping me. Then a doctor came in and checked me, and then they were kind of whispering in the corner, the doctor and the midwife, and I didn't like that at all, because I just knew that it meant something was about to happen, and I just had a bad feeling about it. So the doctor basically said to me, Tracy, you're going to need a bit of help. And at that point I said, no, I know what that means. And she said, what? And I said, it means episiotomy or forceps or both. And she was like, yeah, that's exactly what it means. How do you know that? And that is where I had watched far too much One Born Every Minute. An episiotomy was my worst fear in labour. I don't know why, because actually looking back now it was fine. Episiotomy is where they basically make a small cut, like the perineum I think it's called, which is just a small piece of skin down there that sort of like gives the baby more space to actually come through the birth canal. Saying to me that if I just teared myself it would be much worse, and I would have to get more stitches and it would be more severe, whereas they could just do a kind of a cleaner cut and it would just help a lot. Before I knew it was done I didn't even know. Oh, sorry. It's actually quite emotional talking about it, because it just brings you right back to those emotions that you felt at the time. And like, giving birth is such an emotional experience, but it's like a weird combination of like euphoria and fear and pride and everything in between. Her taking a forceps out of the bag. The forceps is basically like an instrument which is used to sort of pull the baby out. So if they need you to give birth quickly, or if, you know, the baby gets stuck, or you're struggling, or you just need help, they basically can put this forceps sort of inside you and then kind of hold on to the baby and sort of, as you push, guide the baby out. It's probably more gentle than you would think. It's just gotten really sunny all of a sudden. Maybe it's like a sign that I'm talking about my birth and it's like the heavens are... No, it's just sunny. It's just sunny. It all happened so quickly, and to be honest with you, something comes over you in those moments. It was just like, I knew I needed my baby to get here safely. I knew that was the priority, and you sort of put your own fear and your own worry to the side for a second, and you just prioritise your child. The forceps was used. I think I did 3 big pushes, and on the third one he came out, and oh my god. The moment that they put your baby on your chest, oh my god, like, there is nothing in this world that will ever match that feeling of just love, pure, like knowing somebody the minute you see them, being like, that's you. My first words to Billy when he was put on my chest were, oh, hello. It was him, and I knew it was him, and I knew him all along, and he was there, and then he was here, and and then I fainted. You know, I think I lost a lot of blood as well, and I think I was just feeling very wheezy, and I just said to Peter, I was like, it's getting very sparkly, and he said, like, the nurse was just kind of like winking at Peter, like, take the baby off her. So Peter took the baby, and he had held the baby at this point already. So it was about 10 minutes later, and I just fainted very briefly, and then I was fine. Anyway, I came around and everything was fine, and then I was trying to breastfeed. That's a whole different video, but I was trying to breastfeed, and you know, he was like trying to latch on, and that was kind of a nice experience. And we ended up struggling with breastfeeding, and I ended up giving up after 3 days, but then giving it a go again at day 5, and then we were exclusively breastfeeding from day 5. So weird and wonderful sort of breastfeeding story. But that was my first ever time to feed him, or to try and feed him, was lying on that bed where I'd given birth, him wrapped up in a little blanket, and it was just one of those experiences that I'll never forget. It was just like looking at Peter and looking at the baby, and just suddenly you went from being a couple to being a family. Like, it's just incredible. It was the most amazing feeling, and it is so true. Like, after you've given birth, you just forget the pain, you forget the discomfort, you forget the fear. Everything is replaced by this overwhelming, out of this world love that you could never imagine. It is just ridiculous, the love. Like, it's like if you could bottle that love and sell it to people who need it, like, you would make a fortune, because it's just the most incredible feeling in the whole world. They gave me an injection in my thigh, which I don't remember because I was just so engrossed in my beautiful baby and just in shock really that I just had given birth and stuff. So I did like a little injection in my thigh, was the least of my worries. I didn't even notice it, but it helps your uterus contract, and it helps you give birth to your placenta. They took Billy off me because they were worried about him. A little bit floppy, quite lethargic, and because his heart was having difficulties when he was being born, they wanted to check him out. So there was like 6 or 7 paediatric doctors suddenly came in, and that was quite stressful and scary in itself. And I just said to Peter, go over, like, because they were over in the corner of the room, and I just said, go over and, you know, mind and be with them, because I couldn't, because they were like stitching me back up. You know, they had to do that, but that was fine. I didn't feel it. So he was over with them, and they were just checking Billy, and they had to take him away because they wanted to do tests on him. I found that just totally distressing, and I was just bawling, crying, and didn't want to be away from him. And that was emotional. Then they brought in tea and toast. That was just unreal. Like, the nicest toast I've ever tasted in my entire life. And I've heard other women talk about this before. My mother said it to me as well. It is the nicest morsel of food that has ever passed my lips. 2 slices of white, real butter, dripping with butter, toast, and a cup of tea after you haven't eaten for hours and you've just given birth. It was unbelievable. During that whole experience, while I was kind of being, they were doing the sutures, is what they call them, the stitches. They're kind of like stitches that just dissolve, so you don't have to actually get them removed. I think that was probably the scariest part for Peter. He found that part really scary because he was down the other end of the bed, down where the Billy was with the paediatric doctors. He kind of looked back a few times and just saw what he describes as like a murder scene. He says he thought that I was dying, which is really scary. Like, he said he was looking at me and just thought I'd lost so much blood, and I was kind of so out of it that it was really scary for him. And I don't think enough emphasis is put on really how scary the whole experience is for the fathers. Like, difficult experience to watch the person you love in pain and not be able to do much to help. But I have to say, he was absolutely amazing. Like, he was just an amazing birthing partner, and I'm so grateful for how supportive he was. He's not one bit like put off by anything kind of squeamish, or like, you know, I wouldn't be one bit worried about him seeing anything, or like, we're just so comfortable around each other. You know, we'd been together like 5 years at that point. So, you know, that was very important to the whole experience, having that support and that, you know, having that person beside you just to take away some of the fear really, and just to kind of share the fear in a sense. So really that was it, the gist of it. They wheeled us back to the hospital, and I'll never forget this moment. They put me in a wheelchair because my legs were still numb from the epidural, and they put Billy on my lap, and they wheeled me from the birthing suite to the lift, you know, to go to my ward. Oh my god, it's so emotional because I just remember being in the wheelchair with Billy on my lap, and it felt like there was hundreds of people watching me, like I was going through a parade or something. But really there was like 1 or 2 midwives, and there happened to be I can't remember what the name is, the director of the Coombe, and she's a female, and I think up till then it's always been a male, and it was this big deal, this new female sort of manager or president of the Coombe or whatever you call it, and she happened to be there, and they introduced me to her, and she said, "Congratulations, your baby is beautiful." And Peter was like behind us with the bags on his, you know, shoulder, and he was like all so proud. And I just will never forget the feeling of pride I felt of just like, this is my baby, we won our prize, like this is it, we did it. He was lethargic and he had a heart murmur, and they ended up having to take him to the special care unit, and that was very emotional. Like, oh, being separated from your baby is just horrible experience. Well that ends well, isn't that what they say? We got out after 5 nights, 6 days, and it was so great to be home. But that was my story. It wasn't a natural birth. I did go for the epidural. I did get the episiotomy. They did use the forceps. All of the things that I didn't want to happen happened. But the point of the story here is they all happened, and I lived to tell the tale. My baby was born. My baby's healthy. I'm not afraid to give birth again. In fact, I kind of sort of weirdly am excited to give birth again. Even with the pain and the fear and the uncertainty and all of that stuff, the biggest emotion that I would take from giving birth is pride, is love, is just, it's euphoria. It's just the most incredible high. I've never felt a high like that in my life. That sense of happiness. It was just surreal. Surreal happiness. And you know, what a cliche, but it was the best moment of my life. The moment that they put Billy on my chest, it was the best moment of my life. It was the moment I met my child, like the moment I gave birth to our son, the moment that we became a family. I'm just so honoured to have been able to experience it. So thanks a million for watching. If you have any questions, I didn't get to go into like maybe all the details because this video is already too long, but I hope you got something from it, and I just hope it helps you in some way. So thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe to my channel and to Channel Mum for more videos about parenting and childbirth and breastfeeding and just all of the weird and wonderful stuff that comes with being a parent. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.